Well, welcome to this latest podvid on the rules of Heroes All. We've covered all the basics, but now we're going to have a look at some of the peripheral stuff, and we're going to start with this wonderful thing called morale. But let's just backtrack and remind you that we've thrown D6s, one per element, so that we can give command and control instructions. Our little NCOs have passed an officer reaction test, and now they can do what they like, but that isn't really the case. You'll remember that in Fight Your Own Battles we have this thing called continuous momentum, and that kind of determines how the troops are feeling and whether they're in a position really where they can jump out of that foxhole and run off and assault the enemy, or whether they're just keeping their heads down for fear of having a very bad day. That is really what morale is about. It's not a word that kind of fits very comfortably, in my opinion, in a World War II game, but it's something we have to deal with. And in a two-player game, it would be unfair just to say that your troops can do whatever you like until they're all wiped out. So we have a very simple morale rule. Now, the details of the morale rules are all on one page. That's how simple it is. It's on page 11 in the Heroes All book, and it's very simply this. For infantry and anything to do with infantry, that's crew serve weapons, engineers, whatever, for each casualty you've sustained in previous moves, you throw a D10. If you score a 1 or a 2 and you're a regular element, then you're unable to take any action on this bound, and that command dice that you've just been given gets discarded. If you're elite, you can afford to only throw a 1. Anything above a 1 you're fine. And if you're poor troops or green troops, then if you throw a 1, 2, 3, then I'm afraid you are somewhat stuffed and you can't do anything on this bound. Tanks and armoured cars are treated much the same, in that they throw the D10. If they're elite, a 1 means that they are unable to move. It's a 1 or 2 for regular elements, and a 1, 2, 3 for poor or green, exactly the same as infantry. And there's some slightly different rules for aircraft. One big advantage though, you remember when we go back to throwing out command dice, I did say in a previous video that if you had a 6 you could do what you like. Well, one of the options where you could use a 6 is to try and re-roll the morale throw that you've just failed. So let me say I've got this group of infantry and I've ordered them to advance. I give them a 2 control and command dice. They pass their officer reaction test, but they had 2 casualties in their last bound. They throw 2 D10s, and unfortunately one of them comes up as a 2, so they can't move. But I have a command and control 6. Let me play that 6, get them to move again. So I then re-roll the 2 D10s, they're both fine, and off my unit goes. That in a box is morale. Now, very few of us include engineering as part of our war game, but it does come up from time to time. Common things like making a pontoon bridge, or in odd occasions making repairs, or as you'll see in the Little Stories series on the website, getting a broken down tank started, and this all comes under engineering, or a heading which I've kind of adopted, which is work and tasks. So the question is, how do we work out when the job's done? Well, if you look on page 47 of Heroes All, you'll see there's a method, a mechanism, if you like, of trying to work out how the job is done. And the 2 examples given, one is for repairing roads and the other is to build a pontoon bridge. If you're repairing a road, you'll see that 2 engineers working on a road throw a D10 per bound, and when they've got an accumulated score of 6, they repair 1 point of damage from a bomb or an explosion. And that's how the mechanism works. So many people throw so many dice, and when you get to a certain accumulated score, then you're completed. In terms of the pontoon bridge, it's deemed that you can have 6 engineers. They throw a D6 per bound per engineer, so up to 6 D6. And when you've got a total score of 60, Obviously you have one throw of 66 every bound. When you've got an accumulated score of 60, the bridge is complete. And that essentially is the mechanism for working tasks. And you'll find on the website there is going to be a growing number of suggestions as to how many dice, what sort of dice, and what sort of totals you should need to get to in order to have those tasks completed. So coming soon, there's going to be a Heroes All video looking at aircraft, another one looking at buildings, rivers, bridges, that kind of thing, another one looking at boats. And once we've done that, then the rules are complete. It is a very simple set of wargame rules. We're not trying to complicate you here. The complication, if there is one, comes in trying to play it solo. So we're coming towards the end of our Heroes All rule set. Thanks for staying with me. Stay tuned for the next few videos coming along, and incidentally, in response to a couple of requests I've had, when we get to the end of the Heroes All series, I'm going to try and put a Heroes All game together and try and include as many of these different rules as I can. I'm not going to do a full-blown battle report. I have done those in the past for various things. I find them quite difficult to make, and actually I find them quite difficult to listen back to. You know, if someone talking about, here I have thrown a4 and this happens, and then this unit throws a6 and that happens. I don't find that very exciting, so it won't be in that format. It'll be like an overview and a summary of what happens and pointing out a few of the rules. So that's going to come. Thanks for staying along. I'll see you soon. Look, you know how this works. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and when more stuff arrives, you'll be the first to know.